Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, welcome to TFYLP, episode 471. We are live tonight for Monday, March 7th. I'm Lucas. I'm joined tonight by Christian.
What up?
And Paul.
Hey.
And Anna.
Good evening.
And Michael.
What's up, everybody?
Hey. So tonight we are covering some Red figures. They've been out for a while, and I realize apparently we haven't done a show about it. So Anna, what's our topic for tonight?
Red figures.
So
Is
our
this
topic.
Is this about Ukraine?
Did you interrupt me?
Is this
Paul?
a red figure?
Yes, I did.
He's red.
A red figure. It's red, but it's not a red figure. Not red enough. It's not robot enhanced design. Now is it?
Oh, excuse me.
Jeez. Wow. So the Transformers R.E.D. line has been out for a while now, and we haven't really talked about it. And I think that, many of the cast members have collected a few of them. I don't know. Has anyone collected all of them? Paul, have you collected them all?
They all exist in my house.
That was a straightforward answer. Thanks. So the red line's been out for a while now, and everybody I talk to isn't super excited about it yet. We've seen leak lists showing that there's going to be, not one, not two, but more than 10 more red figures coming in the future. There's already been 10-ish. Is that right? 10? I don't know.
Not quite. I mean, I guess with
unless you
Knockout,
include repaints.
yeah, definitely. But Knockout, I think Knockout and Magnus put it around 10.
Yeah, I think it's right under 10 because there's a few molds I don't own. So, so there's been 10 of these things now, and they're still, to this day, after 10 figures, they're still Walmart exclusives, right?
Yes.
Sort of.
I believe so.
I mean, we buy them on Pulse, too, but...
That's a Pulse thing.
And is that supposed to continue through the new year, or
yes, and they just added Target to it, so yay.
Oh.
Is Target getting them now? That's great.
No. Pulse is getting Target exclusives now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we're still getting red from there. So red has been the line of non-transforming Transformers. They're supposed to be fancy, nice, highly articulated action figure versions of our favorite Transformers characters. When they first came out, I think many of my castmates kind of said, what's the point in this? Because the articulation level of current figures was already super high. Would these things actually be more posable? And now that we have them, I just kind of want to talk about our opinions for tonight. So I figured the first half of the show, we could talk about how we feel about what we have so far. And then the second half of the show, we could talk about the future.
All right.
Sound good? All right.
Sounds good.
So what do you guys think so far of these things? What's your big first impression of red figures?
Meh.
Well, I mean, I thought with the first wave that it seemed like it was a little rough, but the G1 designs seemed fine. They needed more articulation in places. They were a little limited, and I was like, maybe they could work on that, and these would be some proper action figures. But it's the other designs that came along that were based on Prime and Beast Wars is where I started to see it really fall apart, where the designs are more complex, less blocky, and then the plastic quality just makes those figures feel even worse. But I don't know, I'm torn on it because I feel like it was a line that needed to exist, but then I don't think they've executed very well.
The first impression I had when I took any of these guys out of the box, which I assume I probably opened Megatron first because out of the first wave, he looked best, and he is best out of the first three, I think. Personal opinion.
He's the only
But
one
the
with
first
the
thing-
approach. So
He looks really good in your screen. Like I'm like, damn, that looks awesome.
Yeah, the first thing I noticed about him when I took him out of the box, other than the fact that he does look really good, is that he weighs like 6 pounds. This is a very, very heavy toy, and all of them are heavy because this plastic weighs a lot.
So,
I mean, when I compare it to toys of similar size, right? Like if I compare my backwards G.I. Joe, he weighs a lot more than Scarlet. He's a lot bigger than Scarlet, but, you know.
I will say that when the line was first announced, I was actually kind of excited about it, and I really wanted to check it out because, once upon a time I actually did collect Marvel Legends. That line's been going for a while, and there's like 1 billion figures, and so I think that it's could potentially be a good way to get the full cast of Transformers if they actually put them out as often as they do Marvel Legends. Of course, this isn't quite that, but I think the biggest thing I feel let down about is just again the execution of the figures. I think that the plastic quality, it's similar to Marvel Legends, the plastic type or whatever, but
It's not, right?
You don't think so?
Like,
Is it
Lucas
not?
hasn't touched them. I know, Christian, you have a decent amount of Marvel Legends. It's a different type of plastic, right? I don't think it's the same thing that Scarlet's made of, but it could be.
Well, that's not a Marvel Legend.
That's true.
This is
That's
a
why I'm
Marvel
saying
Legend.
he uses his Marvel Legend. I'll use my G.I. Joe. We'll do some comparisons.
This is the same plastic.
Is it the same?
Is it?
Okay.
I was wondering if it was the same as like Marvel Legends, if it was the same as
Wars
like the
Black.
Star Wars Black figures and stuff like that.
I don't have a black series out right now that I can help you with.
I can
But-
see the argument that this is technically the same plastic. It's just that everything on her is textured. Like all the different materials are textured and everything's flat on the red guys. So it makes the plastic feel a little different.
So
At least
I
on
think
the.
oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say at least on the G1 guys. The later guys have maybe a little more texture on them and stuff like that, more design to them. But
But I was gonna say, I think that if we weren't concurrently getting all of the G1 figures, redone in the Generations line or whatever you call it this day, Kingdom, Earthrise, whatever it may be,
Two generations.
yeah, it's all Generations. But I think if we weren't getting that, I might be a little more excited for this line as well, even with them not being that well executed. But I mean, the fact that, again, like you compare it, it's like I've got a Starscream here and a Starscream there, and the articulation level is better. I think overall it probably looks about the same. The Generations figures are a little bit bigger. And so just overall, like the execution is just not great. I would say I think the G1 guys probably look a little more G1, I suppose, depending on the figure. But then the other thing that's really frustrating for me is they don't really scale together. And one thing that the Generations
do
line
not.
has done a great job is they've introduced scale and everyone is there's been a certain contingent of fans that have complained about that said, why do we have a Cliff Jumper or Bumblebee or whatever that's smaller? Why do we have whatever? But they all scale. So ultimately my collection looks proper. Whereas if I got a Bumblebee of the red figure, it's not scaled. And I don't understand
If
that
you have
decision.
that one handy,
He's
it
a
looks
big bee.
horrible.
yeah, he's huge. In that line,
It's
for
so
whatever
awful.
reason, that line or that wave, that wave, I only ever saw in the store once, and it disappeared. And then it was Cheetos and RC for the next year and a half,
Yep.
which is an over exaggeration, but it was like 7 months of RC and Cheetor.
But I don't understand that decision because Marvel Legends and Star Wars Black, both of them, may not be 100% accurate scale, but it's close enough. When I get a Yoda or, it's not like a huge Yoda's the same size as Luke.
Yeah, they don't make 6-inch Yoda.
Well,
That was hilarious.
when everyone's a 6-foot dude, it's a lot easier to do the scale. You know, like are you
Well,
serious?
but I mean, they could throw in more. Like Bumblebee could have been smaller and had accessories. I mean, that's what they did with the Generations figure, right?
Could have been. Yeah.
Yeah, but instead they went with Bumble Swole. I mean, he's actually bigger than everyone else.
Yeah, he's huge. When you take those little guys and you
crazy.
scale them up, they look gigantic.
I think he looks so silly in the package, but I have come to actually really like that toy, the Bumblebee, because it's if you take it, if you just imagine it's in scale with whatever toy line, you know, whatever, like the next Optimus is like way taller than him, it's a really interesting sculpt of Bumblebee.
If he was your only Bumblebee, what in the world? All my power just like it's currently raining out in Florida, down here in Florida, and every now and then it makes the power flicker. But if you almost all of them, I think if you sort of set them aside by themselves and don't take them as part of the entire red line, they kind of look decent, except for Cheetor. He's awful. But when you put them all together, it's like a really weird, like, it's that whole issue where they're all the same scale, but because they're all different sized guys, it looks wrong.
Yeah, I agree with that. They don't all look good together. I feel like this line was supposed to serve the purpose of like superposable action figure Transformers, right? Like it was supposed to be, the promise of Action Masters, but actually implemented. Because like, even though she's before the double jointed elbow on woman figures, she's still a super yes, the double female elbow. She's still a super articulated action figure, right? Tons of poses, tons of things she could do. She looks normal in most poses. These guys are not that. Like, I expected after the Black Series and after G.I. Joe and after Marvel Legends that we would get them articulated. Yay, that weird-ass Bumblebee. We would get them articulated, but then they have all these limitations,
He looks massive. He does look massive.
Right, and like we were saying earlier, Anna, these aren't better articulated than their transforming counterparts that were available around the same time.
They're not. Like, here's your ankle, right?
I think that's the thing that's really hard is that almost all of the Red figures have concurrent Generations figures coming out, or like ones that within the same
is Optimus
year.
Primal.
Yeah,
Optimus Primal looks like it's based on the Kingdom figure because it's not based on the animation model, and it doesn't transform.
I think it might be based on the Kingdom animation model, which had all the panels. Because I think because Kingdom came out after Cheetor had already come out, and I noticed while watching Kingdom that this terrifying, ugly, like villain face is his face in Kingdom. So I'm pretty sure that they're based off of the Kingdom 3D models and not the actual Beast Wars models.
That wouldn't surprise me. What I was gonna say is I feel like they don't hit the highly articulated action figures, so maybe they're good for shelf presence. And I do feel like they pull that off really well. Like that Bumblebee by himself on the shelf probably looks pretty cool, other than being massive. When he's by himself, he's not massive anymore.
Paul, you're on mute.
Paul, you're muted.
So I couldn't interrupt anyone. That's good.
Nice.
Good. He does look good on the shelf. When you collect 1 million Bumblebees and you put them all around him, he's like the Statue of Liberty around all the other small bees.
Liberty.
And he looks good. I'm looking at him like this. I'm like, damn, he looks really. His silhouette from the behind looks really good. Like it's a really good Bumblebee. But from the front, maybe not so much. So for the first time, it looks better from the back. So no one can complain about the hollow back.
I mean,
to me,
they don't have hollow backs.
They feel like they're desk friendly, like your desk at work. So you bring your one toy in and be like, yeah, I'm a rebel. But then it's for the people who come to your desk and like, oh man, I want to play with this, and they grab your stuff off your desk because people don't have boundaries. And they're like, oh man, will I break this if I transform it? No, because it doesn't transform. It only has so many joints. You're gonna be fine. I think those are those toys. They're not they're not collector toys. I think they're, I
Yeah.
like Transformers that one time in the 80s, and this makes me remember things, and I want it on my desk, and that's these guys.
And also you put this on the back shelf of your desk area, and it just displays good by itself, right? You put a single Transformers toy on your shelf, it looks a little odd. But you put a single one of these guys, you have a Soundwave display. That's all you need. He's perfect.
Well, and I think I never got Starscream because I only ever saw it once. But I think if you display Optimus, Soundwave, Megatron, and maybe Starscream together, you probably have a decent display. It's when you start throwing some of the other ones in.
Well, Starscream is aesthetically different than the other three you mentioned.
Is he?
He's from Planet Weird.
Oh yeah.
I think he's from the same planet as Bumblebee.
Probably.
They're both kind of bulbous.
Bumblebee's
both
way
in the
better.
same wave, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I only ever saw them once in package, but I know that first wave of at least the three G1 guys, they sort of look cohesive.
Yeah.
They look good together. Like I have these three usually on a shelf together. Optimus, Megatron, and Soundwave. They look great.
Together.
To me, I feel like these are really not meant for us. They're not meant for Transformers collectors. I feel like that they are meant for Marvel Legends collectors and for Star Wars Black collectors. For them, that when they go in the store to get those figures, that they like go, oh, Transformers, cool. Oh, hey, look, they like made one that's, similar to the other Legends figures that I have. Same price point. Oh, hey, I'll just go ahead and pick this up while I'm here. And those guys probably don't care about the scale. They don't care. Like, they're just like, oh, hey, look, it's Soundwave. Hey, it's Optimus. Like, hey, it's Megatron. And they're not, like, as picky as we are where, we're sitting here going, oh, wait, like, it needs to be more accurate or it needs to be whatever. That they are just like, oh, cool, the next one on the line, I'll pick it up.
Yeah, like, they're less likely, like, maybe the guys that are less likely to actually buy a transforming figure, but they see something and they're like, oh, that I remember that guy, and so they pick it up. But
can I offer an exception to that rule?
Yes.
Go for it.
Because I think, Lucas, everything you said is correct of like the G1 dudes. And then there's this guy. Knockout is different from all of them. Because this is Knockout as he appeared on the show. He walked out of the cartoon. Here he is finally with a toy that's appropriate to that appearance because his Transforming one was kind of garbagey. Here's the dude. This is his first accurate toy, and he's amazing. So, like, who's this for? Why are they doing Prime stuff now? So is he for us? Is he for some other audience other than the one that was just described? I don't know what the deal is with this. Why is this here? I'm glad it's here. Why?
You could argue he isn't for us because we're getting a Knockout pretty soon.
Yes, but it's
but the Knockout, this one's more accurate to the cartoon.
Yeah, we're getting another Knockout for us, though. He's G1ified. These are for the Prime kids.
Right.
I guess the Prime kids would, well, I guess we all would, because the Knockout toy that came out was not good. So maybe it's for all of us. I don't know.
I mean, Prime kids are probably going on to like 18, 20 years old now, right?
Older than that, probably.
When was Prime? Prime was 2010?
2012.
But you can make the same argument Lucas made, that the younger Legends or Star Wars Black collector goes to the store, is buying their, Black Series or their Legends, and they're like, ooh, there's Knockout and RC. They're from Transformers Prime. I ate that for breakfast every morning as a kid. And they'll get them.
Well, I mean, I think that overall, I've seen this in the Marvel Legends group on like a local Facebook group that I'm in, and they posted about these figures, and they're like, "Oh, hey, cool! Like, finally Transformers for me." So it's like not like I'm just coming up with this idea on my own. I see it from some of those guys where they specifically don't want a transforming figure. They don't want to be bothered with that kind of stuff. and they don't feel like that those figures are for them, whereas they do feel like that these are kind of for them. So, I don't see them posting about it as often as they do about Marvel Legends or Star Wars Black and stuff like that. But it does seem like that some of those guys are, collecting these as well.
Well, and it makes sense. Like, I argue in like the Discord sometimes. It's like 99.9% of my Transformers never get transformed after like the first few times. They go on a shelf and I never touch them again for 20 years, right? Until I have to move or something like that, or dust. Which who does that very often? No. So it's like, if you really think about it, it's just we sort of as Transformers collectors live with we like the idea that the figure we pick up can turn into something. But at the end of the day, we're not going to turn it into it.
Right. Right. So what's the problem with this?
This line makes a whole lot of sense. But to me, I just wanted like a little more and maybe I expected too much for $20 figures, right? And that's just I collect like anime figures where you could bend them over three times over. So I expected a little too much, but I expected maybe like I look at a Marvel Legends figure or a Black Series figure or something like that, and it looks like it has a decent amount of articulation. And I feel like the Transformers still don't have that much, even compared to those.
Well, here's a $90 figure, and this is I think this was an amazing Yamaguchi Optimus.
Yeah, the Revoltech.
And this thing, just like, these are not the same caliber of thing. Right. But this costs 4 times as much.
Yeah, it costs a lot.
So
that's the thing.
Oh.
Just the difference between the type of figures that Michael and now Paul are talking about, there's just that rift, it's a huge rift between those figures and the $40 to $50 action figure that these things would probably, be really nice at. I don't really have a good comparison group for that.
Well, they aren't out yet.
Well, one figure I will actually bring up is the MDLX line from 3A, and they have their first figure that just came out not that long ago, and I think it's like just hitting now. Mine isn't in yet, but a lot of reviewers have reviewed them, and that figure looks really, really amazing. They just did a fantastic job on it where it has that articulation and it has, just all the paint that you would want, like the look. It has the weight. And a lot of the reviewers are saying that it's, one of their figures of the year already.
The Bumblebee?
The Bumblebee, yeah. And I think that's more in that 40 or 50... I think is the Bumblebee,
it's like 60 or 70. I can't remember which one.
I thought it was 100.
No, it's 60. And so I think that, but to me, I feel like if I'm going to compare a $60 Star Wars figure to from Bandai or whatever to the Marvel Legends, or the Star Wars Black Series, I don't feel like that they're that far apart. I feel like that this is a lot further apart from some of the more expensive options. And maybe it's just because we don't have as many options, and Hasbro kind of has to step up their game a little bit with some of those figures. I don't know. Whatever the reason is, I just don't feel like these are executed that well, the red figures.
I think one problem with it may be, if it is the same plastic as their other action figures, just the amount of, blank real estate, I feel like leads to problems that you're never going to see on your more normally proportioned human figure. Because, the one thing that really gets me every time I handle Optimus or Megatron especially is just watching my fingerprints stay on it as I play with it. That and the fact that, there's obvious, scratches and divots just in the plastic from existing. Just getting from the factory to me, you can see the wear on it. And that just kind of, I think that just comes from using that same plastic in such a big blank swaths like you do with these guys.
Well, Anna, don't you know you're supposed to always touch your toys when you're wearing gloves?
I
Yeah.
know. I left my gloves at home.
Hey, as an alternative, I want to just show what the same amount of money you can spend to buy this. You can get this.
Yeah. You get the reaction stuff. But
You can, and no complaints
So bizarre.
by any means.
You know, when this line was announced, I shared Lucas's optimism. I was like, oh, we could finally get animation model, 1-for-1 G1 dudes. That sounds like a cool collection to make. Bumblebee kind of acts that dream for me. But then I was like, why don't they use the line to make some characters that you can't make in like a Generations line? Like, I think it would be really primitive to make the Action Masters again this way, or Autobot X kind of character, because how are you going to make Autobot X transform? He doesn't. That's the whole point. He's an amalgamation of other bits. Put it in red, it's going to sell like gangbusters, but they aren't doing that.
No, I think you're right. Like,
I mean, it makes sense, but like Autobot X, maybe an X level character,
Right.
like he is not necessarily going to sell like gangbusters. He's going to sell to like 1,000 sweaty dudes, and that's it. Then the other 9,000 go to a landfill. It's
Right.
tough.
You know who is making Action Masters? It's the Super 7 Ultimates dudes.
Right. Yeah.
I would say
Why would there be a licensing deal to make that happen when Hasbro has their own non-transforming Transformer line? That is really
they're
bizarre.
different again.
well, price points, right? And we have to see
Sure.
what it meets, because I imagine, if Super 7's doing it right, it's gonna meet maybe more to what we expected Red to be. But obviously it's at a higher price point. Like, what are they? They're like $60 each.
55 each.
Yeah. But they're
5 each.
generally the same. I think they're Super 7, which would be 7-inch figures. These are 6-inch figures. I mean, how much better can they be at that scale? And the answer is probably a lot, but I don't have a lot of experience in this area.
Yeah, they
I
seem to
think
have a lot
we-
more accessories and stuff like that too, and they're tackling the weird. And Super 7 is sort of the place to do that, because Super 7 just does weird stuff anyways. It's sort of, they're not aiming for huge audiences. They sort of make it, except for Reaction, which is everywhere. But
And I've seen some Ultimates of other toy lines in the past year or so, and I'm always like, in box, I'm like, holy cow, the presentation is quite good.
Yeah, I think they're really nice figures. But I think Super 7, I think the Ultimates line is where Autobot X goes. Like, I think that's where you could release that, and some people will be really excited, because how many people got super excited and pre-ordered the alligator when they put out their Wave 2 or 3, whichever one it was, the freaking non-transforming, barely articulated alligator that you can pay the same price that I'm getting a full action figure for.
I ordered it. I won't lie. I ordered it.
Oh, I know. People get really excited.
So
The Obscurios go in the Super 7 Ultimates. Like, I feel like that's where they belong. Autobot X would do his Game Busters, as Christian put it,
right.
there.
That's fine, because he's like a tall Frankenstein-y dude, and the alligator can be, non-scale, whatever, who cares. But like, I want to get Bonsaitron and Bludgeon, but they're too big for the collection I have.
I feel like
I'm at the stage in my
ultimately-
collecting room after the whole, not the individual.
So ultimately, the customer for these figures is actually the dude who is the buyer for Walmart, and not
Yes.
for us. Like, that is 100% that, like, this line was probably pitched by Hasbro, that they're like, hey, would you like some Marvel Legends style figures for Transformers? And he's like, yes, sign me up. And he's like, I've got a Megatron, I've got an Optimus, I've got a Bumblebee, I got a Starscream. And he's like, bam, sounds fantastic.
Like, what? Sign me up for the next 3 years.
well, that's what I was going to ask. Is like, did they like contract it out for a certain length or something like that? Because
Probably.
like we're approaching year 2, like, or of the line, and I mean, frankly, at this point, it's like I'm kind of surprised that they're still announcing new stuff. Like my Walmart, I don't know how everyone's Walmart is, but my Walmart had a bunch of them, and now they're all gone. And I don't even think they have pegs that are labeled red anymore. They're all generations, and
I mean, the pegs don't really matter. Like, they're more suggestive than anything.
Yeah, I know, but it's like I feel like I haven't seen them restock them in a while, right? They finally got rid of Cheetor and RC, and then they haven't restocked. Which I think the last like that Megatron you're holding up right now, they were more. Was that like more of an exclusive, or were they supposed to be in store?
No, this is the last wave.
Yeah, that was him and Ultra Magnus.
No, I think this came with a bunch of repacks.
Hmm.
Like, I think it came with Soundwave and Cheetor and stuff that no one really wanted. But I think this is one of the standout figures. Honestly, this is like what Red is for. Is for stuff like this.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool way to use to do a repaint and give you something that's just sort of weird and unique that like where else would you get it in? Like, they're not gonna make an actual action figure of that.
Yeah, I was really surprised about the Galvatron. Like the fact that they did the over $50 later figure in that purple and grayed out look.
We can never get a true Megatron in that because every Megatron has to be a tank now, right?
That's rather
true. Yeah, you're right. This is kind of the way to do it because he doesn't turn into a gun.
Only way to have your progression, is to use Red because then he's Gunatron.
I mean,
but they're so out of scale that I if they were anywhere close, I would have gotten that Megatron, but they're not. So I didn't.
Oh, it's still good. You put it in front of him like it's sort of a depth perception thing.
How is the clear plastic? Because it's translucent, right? Like, how is that compared to the rest of the plastic? It's basically the same. Or is it gummier in any way? Does it feel like you're holding a big old lifesaver?
I don't know. Maybe. The one thing I'll say about this that is annoying is that they did it the opposite direction of what had happened in the movie. Like, how did they mess that up? I don't know.
They probably mirrored
some
image they had.
It's a lot easier to paint it on that side.
Yeah, it's probably the Canon
gun.
It's probably the Canon and this thing. They're like, we're not doing that shit, bros. Like, we're doing the side that's easy.
Let's totally do the one that's all rectangles.
Yeah. That's totally what happened here.
But I do feel like that reformatted Megatron is the one of the few Red figures that I would buy. I mean the Prime ones as well. But the hard thing is like, are they actually going to do all of them? And so that's kind of where I don't really want to get in, and they just do a couple of them like knockout.
Anna, are there any more on the list upcoming?
Maybe. There are more Prime figures on the list upcoming, but there's no more Beast Wars.
Thank goodness.
So you're not going to get your Beast Wars fix out of Red, but you might get your Prime fix. Although there's a lot of people still missing because it's just Optimus and Megatron coming, right?
And a redeco of Megatron, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Great.
Before we get there, like, if there are any must buys for Red, I would say it's the reformat Megatron and it's the knockout. And if you must have the knockout, then why not get the RC, right?
They actually look really good together. Like, I know that their size is off. I know that they're not the exact right sizes, but they look really nice together because the art style matches, and they're both nice looking action figures from a distance.
You just might want to buy like a
10-foot away line.
A $15 set of Stage Act 4s to hold RC up because she doesn't like to stand.
She does not like to stand. Knockout really doesn't either. Like, there's a few ways he'll stand, but he doesn't love it. He's not into it.
Yeah, I found all the ones that don't have giant flat rectangles at the bottom.
Mine has never fallen over. I've had him standing all day by himself.
Well, I also dramatically post my figures, Christian. That's the first thing. And then second, mine just falls over backwards all the time because of the weight of his wheels.
I know the Beast Wars ones. I haven't looked at RC, but the Beast Wars ones do have like a hole up underneath their foot, so you could buy like some universal display
Knockout
stands.
has them in his toes.
Yeah,
his toes.
So what bothers you so much about the Cheetor? Is it just that it's like from an alternate universe?
Face.
He
colors.
looks evil. His colors are weird. Like the bronze is really dark. I don't really know why, and I didn't actually know that Starscream and Bumblebee were this way, but I don't know why they designed these parts to come off. They just make it worse, like, because they move around on them, they fall out. It's like I don't see a play value to them coming off, so I don't know why they're not just molded in. And he falls over. He doesn't like to stand either. Him and RC both, they don't like to stand. Like I can get over to me the funky evil face is kind of hilarious, and so I like it in that regard. But then he doesn't want to stand up, and like the whole point of him is to stand there. Right.
And you also like him, given that you have plenty of other Cheetors. If he was going to be the only Cheetor in your collection, he would look really wrong.
Yeah. And then
nice
like
face.
Prime is a lot better, and again, I don't know why these parts are designed to come off, but he does have like like abs underneath there. I don't know why.
That's kind of cool, actually.
It's funny. But Primal's a lot better. He stands a lot better. He doesn't feel as loose because of the plastic being so soft. I think that's the big thing with Cheetor when you move his joints around, it feels like the joints are moving, but the plastic is also moving with it, right? It's got a little bit of drag to it. Now, the only big problem I have with Primal is that his hands to hold his swords, I would have to heat him up or something to actually get the swords in there without like stressing them and like leaving marks on it. I couldn't get the swords into his hands at all. That's why he's sort of posing with his fists on his hip, because I gave up. I wasn't going to break my action figure just to put some swords in his hands.
I've heard that from others too, about his swords not really going into his hands. That's something we didn't mention, though, is the number of accessories that come with these guys. Like, here's knockouts. He's got several replacements for his hands that are fun things he did. He's got a spear doohickey. And a couple extra hands.
It's not bad, and I think that's where I was sort of excited about the line, is that with the accessories and stuff, I thought you were going to have a little bit of a budget sort of
Figma
figure that Figma that I'm used to. Like obviously it was never going to be at that quality, but I thought it was going to be a budget version of those in a way. But they feel like maybe more bargain bin than budget that, right?
Yeah, it's weird because it's like none of the Black Series stuff doesn't come with a bunch of hands and accessories, right?
No,
because Legends doesn't and G.I. Joe doesn't.
Legends is doing better now, but
Are they
Black
doing hands
Series
more?
does not.
Okay.
Like ever.
Do they do hands in Legends?
Yes.
Okay. Because the hands thing kind of surprised me, just to have the extra hands with it, because it does cue to me the idea of Figmas and SH Figuarts and other much more expensive toys.
Like all my spiders that I collect, they have, web hands generally, they have crawl hands, they have fists for, each side, so that's 3 sets of hands generally per figure. Not all of them come with them, but a decent amount of them come with alternate hands.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, to me those are usually the sign of at least an action figure that's trying, right, to be like a collector piece and not so much a toy. So that's kind of what I was hoping that this would be, but it is what it is. But so we have more waves coming, huh?
Do any of you guys, before we move on to that, do any of you guys think that these are a similar value? So it's their prices are $22.99. Like, outside of the transforming thing, like if you didn't transform your deluxes that you buy, do you think they offer the same amount of value as those deluxes?
So yeah, Jay in the chat asked that question a minute ago, and I was thinking about it. And for play value wise, no. But like seriously, this guy looks damn good on the shelf. Like you don't get that good of a likeness of one of your favorite characters for $20 most of the time. You're usually paying more. You know, like the $40 statues you can buy of like anime characters and stuff look this good. That is a good looking Megatron.
Case dependent.
It is case dependent because not all of them strike that. Like Soundwave does not look that good on its own.
What?
He looks okay.
Get out of here. I think that's one of the best ones.
I think the Soundwave looks pretty good too. Yeah.
Yeah, Lucas. Yeah.
He's got issues. Knockout looks that good.
Knockout does look that good.
Even though mine has like 50 paint errors and a non-functioning left arm, I still think he looks beautiful. He's great on the shelf. That looks really nice too.
Magnus is decent, and he's got more paint than it looked like Prime had back in the day, so I was happy to get him.
I just want to point out how good of a job we've done. We have shown every figure that the Red Line has during this show.
No, we haven't shown RC.
Yeah, that was my goal.
No, we did. You did show RC.
Anna showed it.
Between the five of us, we've shown them all. It's quite good.
I wanted that. I wanted us to share all of them.
I did not show off any.
Go get your red figures, Lucas.
Lucas ain't got shit.
Well, I wanted us to show them all because I wanted us to kind of like, you know, not so much review the line, but review it as in go through it and talk about what we really think about it so far. Because I have super mixed feelings on this. Because, you know, I finally have a knockout who's one of the coolest new characters introduced in Prime after all these years. I have a version of RC that I like because I really like that RC mold when it got turned into Chromia, but for some reason I never liked it as her. So I really like this. I'm happy to have these two, and that Megatron is just a really great Megatron. You know, the only Megatron in my collection I think looks better than that is MP36, which is a $8 billion super fancy toy.
Yeah, I mean, so if I had to like answer the question, like objectively, I would say they probably are at least worth equally to what you would get from a deluxe. I mean, they're posable. You get accessories. You can display them and everything. Like if you don't really care about transforming, most of them are probably as much, maybe like in the case of Megatron stuff, maybe even more value than if you went and bought a deluxe. Especially if you're buying like right now at the price point, the things I'm buying right now are the vintage reissue Beast Wars, right? And I would say the red figures are probably actually maybe worth more spending $22 on than the vintage Beast Wars. Do I get more of like joy out of the vintage Beast Wars? Yeah. But objectively, they're definitely probably more worth the purchase price.
And I would say another advantage that we didn't really give credit to earlier is that, yeah, this is not as articulated as some other toys that come out recently. But unlike a lot of those toys where if you pose it too much, it breaks the sculpt, everything this thing can do, it looks right doing. You know, it doesn't break the sculpt. It's more like your humanoid figures where, you know, moving her in different ways doesn't break the sculpt entirely. This doesn't either. Like, you can really make a mess out of your mainline figures trying to pose them and looking really strange and showing gaps and blah, blah, blah. But this guy, you can't. You know, he's a little limited, but he looks good in every pose. Which I think is it's an appeal.
So, what figures are coming out that we're looking forward to? Like, what's the upcoming line, Anna?
It's a weird list, I think. Because we are getting more Prime figures, right? We're getting Prime and Megatron from Prime, which are probably two of the characters I care about the least.
I like that Prime design, probably the most of all the Primes.
It's a good design.
Sentence there.
What?
But you know, he'll be the
Prime design.
same size as Knockout, so it's like I don't have any interest.
That is going to be the weird thing, yeah, because Prime and Megatron are going to come, and these are, you know, two of their small people that work for them, So they're going to be about the same size. Probably a little big of an
Yeah.
RC. She's kind of small.
Now you're holding them up together. I mean, that's the first time I've seen them next to her. They actually look pretty decent together. I think RC
They look
should
great
be
together.
smaller, but Knockout was on the small side too.
It works. Like it's not disparate enough. You know, she's not bigger than him. It's not giant hulky Bumblebee.
Seeing it now, like because I already have RC, if I like stumbled across a Knockout, I might be persuaded by myself to spend $22.
He's real good looking.
But yeah, I don't think I've seen the list of what's coming up.
There are eight tentative toys on the way.
Yeah. So there's probably
And
like
it's
at
gonna
least
read it
3
to
more
us.
waves.
If you want me to read them.
Yeah, where are the others,
Or-
Anna?
Send them off.
Well, it looks like this first wave that's supposed to come out is a G1 Galvatron and Shockwave, representing our G1 purple guys. And some sort of redeco of Megatron and Optimus. Do we know what those are at all? Does anybody know, or are they just redeco?
Battle
Mysteries?
damage version.
Well, I don't know. That's. I wouldn't read into that too much, because like there was always this alternate deco of Optimus that was supposed to be coming. This is from the beginning, and like, was that Ultra Magnus, or was that something else? And is this redeco of Megatron? You know,
It's true. They could just be repacks of those.
Yeah, so
For all
like
we
I
know.
wouldn't dig into it too much.
Also, someone mentioned recently that apparently there's 2 versions of the Optimus. Is that right? Someone was telling me there's a variant.
Supposedly the clear windows come in a slightly blue tint or a clear. Is what I've been told.
Well, I mean, there was definitely more than one run.
Mine is slightly blue.
Yeah, mine's blue.
I was
too.
not able to figure out if mine are slightly blue or not. I guess they are.
It looks slightly blue over camera.
I think mine's slightly blue.
Yeah.
I think.
Supposedly, like the very early wave, like is clear, and then the rest after that were clear blue. But
And of
Oh
course, we
my
could also be
God.
really let down by redecos. It could be like cell shaded or something, which a lot of people don't like.
I wouldn't be let down. I'd probably actually buy cell shaded.
No, I'd like that.
These
but-
are already cell shaded.
Yeah, see,
true.
some people don't like it.
I don't. No.
I bought those. The only 2 like Siege figures I own are the cell shaded ones.
Oh, you mean the ones that are underwater? You mean with 800 light sources? The thing that everyone thinks is called cell shaded. Yeah.
In case you're just getting to know him, Paul loves cell shaded action figures. He's really into
Do you
it.
not like the Platinum Games Transformers game?
Not really.
Horrible.
I mean, I played the game. You mean the beat 'em up one?
Devastation.
Devastation.
Yeah, I played the game, but like that, the aesthetic did annoy me.
I loved
It
it.
did
Oh,
annoy
that's
me.
the best part. That's the
It
best
wasn't
part
fun
about
to
the
play.
game.
It didn't look good. No.
No, it looked like they were
great.
all underwater. That's what everyone does with this cell shaded. They're like, ooh, let's just make it weird and watery. Oh, it's cell shaded. No, like I would love to see someone actually do a cell shaded toy. It you know what? It wouldn't be that interesting. It would just be. Never mind. Who cares?
It would
Yeah,
look
what's in the
like
next-
what every Magic Square figure looks like, honestly, because they get really close to the cell animation looks. Anyway, the next wave is supposed to have the Prime Optimus and Megatron, which will be the same size as Knockout and make everyone angry. It'll be fun. They'll be interesting at least. And then we get more repaints in the future. So the next wave is supposed to have Thundercracker, G1 Thundercracker. So he'll just be, I guess he'll be Bulbous Starscream, but in Thundercracker colors. And then a Nemesis Prime.
Well, without a cape though, and the others, or will he have it?
Maybe he'll come with like a sky blue cape or something.
But
Who knows?
Is the coronation stuff on that Starscream removable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is, but it looks quite bad without it, I must say.
Yeah.
Real bad.
Swole
So yeah, we're
scream.
getting. So there's Thundercracker on this list, but no Skywarp yet. So that means we'll probably have more in the
Skywarp's going to be
future.
an exclusive, and he's going to be hard
There
to
we go.
get, and
He'll be a Walmart exclusive at Walmart.
he'll be called Hot Link.
Skyballs.
Hot Warp. We'll just get a little closer.
Everyone knows that they killed off Skywarp because Hot Link's the new guy.
And yeah, there's a Prime Dark Energon, which you're saying is probably the Megatron, Christian.
Yes.
And then there's Cliffjumper, who I assume will at least have a new head compared to weird buff Bumblebee.
Well, he's got those
Let's
removable chests, so they could easily,
yeah,
remold
because
that.
it's G1
one
Cliffjumper
piece.
specifically, not Prime. Prime Cliffjumper, we'd all get super excited if you go with the Prime figures.
What if Nemesis Prime is Nemesis Primal, and they just ran out of characters to put the AL on the end, and then redeco Optimus is the real Nemesis Prime or something.
I would buy it, unfortunately.
That's right.
My Nemesis Primal still lives with Anna.
It's true. I still haven't sent it with you. I sent it to you yet. It's in a box. It's taped. It's ready to go.
Nemesis Primal is a real boy now.
In that list, I guess the thing to point out, there aren't really that many new molds. Galvatron's a new mold. Shockwave's a new mold. The two Prime leaders are new molds. Otherwise, they're repaints.
Well,
right?
that's half.
That's normal.
I mean, that's what Marvel Legends does too. So
Yeah.
I mean, all of those. I don't know. That's one thing I think about the Legends is that they can reuse a lot of the bodies more easily than what Transformers can.
It's true.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, there aren't a whole lot of reused parts across these guys. Like, I don't even think their shins and stuff are reused.
It just makes you wonder, why they even bother with making Transformers if they could just make Marvel Legends and sell them for the same amount. Because they're making twice as much money per figure on a Marvel Legend.
Well, but they have
Because
the
of
license.
licensing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Because-
true.
When I looked at this RC, I was like, none of this gets to be reused, right? Like, it's all original parts on her, and nothing's going to be in common with anyone else.
Well, I think that's
Wrong.
why we have more. That's why we have more G1 characters than anything, because a lot of those G1 guys, especially the early G1 guys, you can repaint them 5 times, and everyone's like, "Well, yeah, you're going to repaint them because there was 5 different characters that were that same mold."
The Prime characters are just so unique looking. Every single one of them is spiky and skinny and all that stuff that makes them just very unique looking and very unique molds. And I want to say that I think that the toy design itself, like the amount of plastic and the way it holds together, it does way worse when it's this skinny. Like, she does not feel as good to me as the other ones.
I think that's a big problem with Cheetor. It's just that as it gets thinner, it feels softer.
Yeah, it's real pliable.
Like,
And
the
her
thicker
joints
it
do
is,
not
because
feel good.
Primal doesn't feel as like it's the same plastic, but it feels, because he's just overall chunkier, it feels more solid. And as the pieces get thinner, it feels worse. Like, the worst piece on him is the backpack piece. That's because it's just a bunch of thin plastic. And I think that's why like you list Shockwave. Like, Shockwave would probably look like if he scales well enough with the Prime and the Megatron and the Soundwave, like, maybe that's another one I'll pick up to stick with them, and maybe Galvatron too, right?
Both
and
of those
then-
might quickly be my favorite one of each of them. And it might be my favorite Shockwave, my favorite Galvatron quickly.
You could also totally hate them if they get the color wrong,
Mhm.
because everyone's like, Shockwave isn't lavender, he's purple. He's not violet, he's purple.
Well,
Like,
see,
the tone of the
have-
color matters to people.
they have to release him as the one color, because then they have to release them as the other color.
Right, as the repaint. Yep.
It's all strategy. Like, especially now that we have those like we have the premium line or whatever it is that Takara is releasing. It's like you don't know what figure you're buying today is not going to have a better deco tomorrow.
PF.
Yeah, after messing with the Prime figure or with Knockout today, there are a couple more Prime characters I would buy from Red. Like I would definitely get a Smokescreen. I would get a Wheeljack probably. And if they wanted to make an Arachnid that somehow had her spidery legs, I would get her too. But like any of the bigger characters, like Prime and Megatron, probably not. Bulkhead and Breakdown, no. Bumblebee maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or if they did like a 3-pack of the kids, I think that would be appropriate. But so far,
I would love it if they did that.
Multi-packs of small ones. Like I was hoping they would do multi-packs of animation model cassettes. Do a laser beak and a rumble.
You're telling me you don't want a 6-inch rumble and a 6-inch frenzy?
I do not. I do not.
Oh my goodness! I would so get that. I love those characters so much. I would so buy action figure versions. I feel like I already did from MMC though.
I think for some of these, like the red line, you sort of have to you have to split them up. Like I feel like if you display RC and Knockout together, they're going to look fine. And probably when they come out, if you display the Prime, Megatron, and Prime together, they're going to look fine. But if you try to display all 4 of them together, it's going to look weird.
They're going to look weird, yeah.
I think if the line had done better, perhaps they could have included Build-A-Figures like they do with Marvel Legends, but definitely don't with Black Series for some reason. But
I'm burned with Chase Force Build-A-Figure.
Well, we've only had one, and that was 20 years ago now. Is that right?
Wait.
15 years ago.
What happened to McAdam?
Yeah.
He forgot
about that one.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Big trash.
Fired.
You're right.
But that's because people wanted Transmutate.
That's all I'm saying. Or if the line had done well, they could introduce the $30 deluxe price point, which they've done with Black Series and Marvel Legends. They've got the $30 or $35 things now.
Hey, who said it's not doing well? They got 8 more toys coming.
That's like the big question. It's like, is the sign of more coming that they're doing well, and maybe it's just maybe no one in this community is the people buying these things.
Maybe not. Or maybe it's that project at Hasbro, and they're like, okay, we got to keep making this because this is what I want. I need to look good for my resume.
Guys, we are buying these things. We just showed every toy.
Yeah.
Right.
We just showed them all.
Well, yeah, but does anyone have every single one? And that's the thing.
Like that's not how toys are sold. That's not expected to
that's how
every
collectors
single
collect,
one.
man. Come on.
If
you buy one Marvel Legends,
collect like that.
Legends, right?
If you buy one, you buy them all. That's the rules.
It's in the handbook. Did you not get the handbook?
Tattooed on my butt.
Read these handbooks.
Page 8 through 9.
Pages of your butt. That's weird.
No, pages of the book. Can't fit the whole book on my butt. Just the important parts.
Got it.
Well, I think you know the answer to that problem.
Yeah, I mean, I would be really interested.
I don't.
We have to see
more butts.
More butts.
See more.
I'd be interested to see if the line continues after what we already know. Even what we already know doesn't necessarily mean it's all going to come out right. We've had plenty of times in the past where we've known of something coming up and it just never happened, right?
It happens, yeah.
Yeah, some of these rumors are really old. Like, these are not
True.
like, this list just leaked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Click now or forever hold your peace. These have been known for quite a while. So I have a feeling that, the choices are made like a year in advance. They're like, yeah, we're going to order all these things. And so, like, once that's locked in, it's locked in. And then when it's time to re-up, Walmart says, nah. And then it's up to Hasbro to, like, make a decision if they kill it or they try to find another buyer or if they have another strategy for how to sell it or if they have something better in the wings to, like, spend their time and effort on. So I think this will come out, and if you don't see any, like at this point, we need to be seeing some new leaks to know if it's going to continue.
Sure.
And I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything in a while since I think the newest of this list are like the Shockwave, Galvatron, and Cliffjumper.
Mm-hmm.
But the Prime stuff has been in the works for quite a while, and Thundercracker.
To add some context, though, I mean, it's still the beginning of the year, and when we first heard about Cheetor and RC was during the PulseCon or FanFest, whatever was last April. So perhaps they're waiting to announce the next 2 or 3 in April in whatever event they're going to do then.
Well, but they'll be announcing these ones we just spoke
will be.
about.
Correct.
Right.
They're not going to be announcing Unicron.
That we haven't seen any of these, and we've known about them for quite some time. It's like, why haven't these things started showing up anywhere?
Yeah.
So Catherine asks if we gift you a Funko Pop, will you have to collect them all too? And I think, Paul, don't you already collect the Funko Pops?
Well, he collects Optimus and he collects.
Yep, they're all right there.
Bumblebee.
I am now.
And they only make Optimus and Bumblebee in that line, right? So.
Yeah,
I
I
feel like
got
I'd
them.
be more likely to collect Funko Pops than these red figures, to be honest.
That's a real deep. You just digging that knife in, to be honest.
You're just rude.
At least there's something different than what we already collect, right?
Yeah.
I could see that logic.
No.
I don't know. I mean, I wanted something that was basically just the transformer that I didn't have to transform. I mean, because I've gone on record many times saying, to me, masterpiece figures are statues once they're transformed.
Right.
That's why I stopped buying them.
Right.
Because they were expensive, well-engineered things that I never touched again.
So
I guess
yeah,
if you're that only and you don't have the other components that I had, red could make sense for you.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually hoping when the line got announced, so we saw like the first pictures. The first pictures of Optimus and Megatron were very good looking. They're still very good looking figures. I was like, could this finally be the thing that lets me get rid of my MP figures? I just make a shelf of nice looking bot modes, and then I also have my transforming toys to have toys, and I finally get rid of the MP crap. And then we got to see pictures of Bumblebee and Starscream, and that dream was over. Because A, Bumblebee is completely out of scale, and B, Starscream looks weird.
Because to me, something that's like what is in my range. Well, like this was really cool, right? But it's super hyper stylized. It's cool, but it doesn't exactly
What
fit.
figure is that?
What I'm going for. This is the Fury Action from Flame
Okay.
Toys.
So that's a model kit one?
No, this is the one that was pre-assembled.
No, so that's expensive, right?
Yeah, it was like
It is.
150.
That's a Kurokari then.
No, it was the one. It was the Fury Action line, which was like in between the kits and the.
It was a
Fury,
kit that
yeah.
was pre-assembled.
Yeah,
Well,
because they announced
Well, they just
that.
never
Prime
released
model
him
of
as
the
a
Prime
model. Yeah,
I see.
So he's only in the action line.
but like
Because they
I
announced
think
the action-
they abandoned the action line.
I think they
Because
did
they
too.
announced it with the old Prime mold. They were like, you get to buy the old Prime mold, but it's painted really nice, and it's a figure instead of a model. And that was one price point, right? That one was like $80.
Yeah, they did that with Prime and Megatron, I think.
And the next thing we know, that
Or was it just Prime?
Primal gets announced, and then he's like way back up at like $160.
Because he
And
has
not any
die-cast
bigger.
on him and stuff.
Yeah, he seems super nice. Don't get me wrong. Like everything Flame Toys does, other than the model kits, seems like really premium. It's just very high priced.
Yeah.
These
But,
guys
like-
are not that.
But like, to me, what falls sort of in like the perfect area is the Revoltech Prime that Paul held up. Except, I didn't really want a Prime that looked like Pat Lee drew it, right? It looks like Dreamwave Prime, and I'm like, I don't really want that. I want like
It's very thrusty.
right. I I like if they did like the Rebel Tech stuff that looked like the Red stuff did, but with just a crazy articulation. That's sort of like the perfect area for me.
But again, for me, I feel like that 3A MDLX line could potentially be that. I really hope it's successful because
I have to look into it.
those ones they're G1ified. They're like somewhat of a new design. It's not something where it's like 100% animation accurate, but it has the quality of those 3A figures.
But at like 100
in design, and so they're they're a little bit cheaper than the other 3A figures. So like there's a DLX line that is, those figures are about $100 to $200. Most of them around $200. Whereas this is kind of a little more obtainable. That they're like $60. I think the Prime is $60 as well, or maybe it's $80. I can't remember, somewhere around there. But they're a little bit cheaper, and I think that they compete with, some of those other Japanese action figures.
I think so too. I'm just afraid where they shot themselves in the foot is with the designs that aren't anything specifically. Because it's like basically if they went the same route, you know how like the Bumblebee movie Prime is pretty G1 looking, but it's still like the Bay movie. It's like if you just G1'ed that a little bit more, that's kind of what they're going for, but it isn't anything in particular.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's going to appeal to a lot of people.
Well,
the Bumblebee's so damn cool. Like the fact that it is different, and the fact that it's all yellow and there's no black on it, and it's just like such a cool design. It doesn't really relate to anything else. It stands on its own.
Oh man, those are
want it.
Decently priced.
I just don't know how many people are going to love it.
Well, the thing is those
everyone will.
3A, like what they do well is weathering and paint apps and everything. And so like if they put out a strictly G1, figure, it's just like that's not their forte. And so they already have two different lines of movie figures. And so like why would they put out another, movie design? So I think that this could work, and I know that there's statues. I can't remember who makes them. Is it that it's a similar type of idea? Paul, do you remember what those? Who does that? God, I can't remember.
Who does what?
There's some statues that they make over in Asia that like are
Prime One.
Is it Prime One?
Prime One. I think it's Prime One Studios. Yeah, that they do a similar thing, but they're like super high end statues.
They should call this prime rate mortgage. That's what they cost. They're like $2,000 a piece.
Right.
Yeah, man. I wanted the Beast Wars Megatron and Optimus so bad, but I'm just like I can't afford to spend a car.
Yeah, the prices are crazy. I draw the line at that stuff, Lucas.
Yeah.
I think those are really cool. Like if I had the disposable income, I probably would have thrown it at it, but not at that time.
At one point, I thought about getting the Starscream, and then when I was in Japan, I saw how big those things are. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you need a room to put those in. Okay, like they just don't work as like something you put on a shelf against the wall. It has to be seen in the round. It's so big. They're crazy. You need a room that you put it in a like 3 by 3 foot by 3 foot
just like right
plexiglass cube. Yeah, and you can walk around it and it'll just sit there and be like,
with the laser system guarding it, and someone will rappel down and.
It's just
I actually just pre-ordered those, Lucas. I went and looked them up. Like, oh, those were really well priced. I'm gonna pre-order those.
I mean, I'm telling you, like all the reviews on the Bumblebee so far have been really positive. So
I mean, it's $60. Like,
yeah.
$60. Jeez.
I spent like 60, but I'm not gonna grab any of these. Like, I spent like $100 on this one. Like, right, like. The Bring Art
anime figures, yeah.
Yes. Bring Arts is especially expensive. Like I don't know why they're so much more than the other stuff.
They finally got me. I did so well not buying any of those for years.
I had to buy all the Nier Automata stuff. Like, I like that game
Yeah,
a
it
lot.
didn't get me. I gotta get my old crap.
What?
Case in point with old crap, right? Here we are with the.
But there you go, Anna. Here's your red show. So, what are
This
we
is
doing?
your fault.
Right. What are we doing for book club this week? Do you know?
Probably more revolutionaries. I don't know. I skipped last night. I was
Zaldron,
building a model kit.
I don't know if Zaldron's still on. If he can tell us which
He-
comics are for book club this week.
I'll pull it up on the group. I know you posted in there.
He did. It would have taken me I would have had to move my wrist like another 3 inches to look. Thanks for doing it for me.
I would like to give a shout out to whatever the Russian bot is that keeps changing the name and posting. I have to ban them.
Oh, see, that's what I was gonna say. It's like in an alternate universe, the Red series would have been like, what was that Superman Red Sun or something?
Mm-hmm.
Ha,
If the Autobots landed on
there you
the
go.
USSR,
Yeah.
you know.
Revolutionaries 3 and 4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Revolutionaries 3 and 4. So that's on the TF Talk
Communist
Discord,
Prime.
and that's going to be at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central on Sunday night.
I would definitely read that book. Oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest we've gotten is like when the Predacons were like backed by China, right? In the IDW, the beginning of the Asian.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, stay out of China, bro.
No, that was the beginning of the ongoing.
Oh, so Catherine says actually the book club is taking a week off for TFCon, which is that this
nice.
weekend?
That is this
What?
weekend.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Why aren't you guys gonna do a live reading at TFCon?
Yeah. There you go.
Because we're not all going to be there.
Well, he put the 13th in the post, so you might want to go change that.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be delayed, but I think Rick is going to be at TFCon LA. I think he's the only member of TFYLP that's actually going to be there.
Selling books.
I almost went. I was so close.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, tough time of year.
2 a year is hard.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to do one or the other, and for a lot of
But for
people.
us, they're 16 hours this way and then 16 hours that way.
Well, the next one's in Chicago.
I know,
Yeah.
it's only 8 hours. I'm coming. Don't worry.
Yeah, but see, I think, if anything, I'd rather go to Chicago, because at least I hear the food there is really good.
It is.
Food in Chicago is good.
And it's not as much of a flight.
Chicago will be fun, but I'm sure LA will too. We'll hear all sorts of good things. Everybody gets to paint a studio series figure. That's probably going to be a blast.
Is that what?
I'm actually
Do
really
we
mad
know what
about
the
that, but
toy
we'll
is?
talk about that another time.
You could turn that into a white Camaro.
What's the toy? Do you know yet?
The studio
it's
series
the
Bumblebee.
07B. They're making it into a bug bite character.
That's going to be hell.
So where are they getting the toy from?
Ages 3 and up.
The store?
You know what I mean? That's a rare toy now.
Is it? They must have bought them ages ago and stocked them.
It's not that one.
Maybe, maybe they got all the surplus from Target.
That's
Well, I'm
why
trying to
it's
think.
rare now.
The only way it wouldn't be rare is if you got the clunker from
No, sorry, not the classic Camaro, the 07 concept one.
Yeah, it's the
Oh right, yeah. Oh, it's 74 BB. Yeah, okay. You can find plenty of those.
Yes.
Right. That's probably the one that they're like, how do we get rid of this?
Yep.
And their mock-up looks nice, but
That's
it sounds like a lot of work to paint a studio series figure since there's a lot of moving parts.
I mean, if you're doing
They're just
with
molded in now.
paintbrushes,
It's way better now.
Okay.
Anyway.
Sure.
But, well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to Zaldron and Catherine and Ron. Thanks to Daniel. Thanks to Jay Holla. The
whole crew.
Thanks to Scott.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks to the bot.
Thank you guys. Oh, and then this week for microcasters, we're probably going to do another round robin. I'm assuming because I don't think we
just review Knockout again. That's what I got
there
this
you go.
week.
There you go.
Could do that.
Might have an
I
Oof
actually
My
have
Wallet
something.
coming soon.
There you go.
Ooh.
So,
Oh my gosh.
oh, look at you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there for that one.
I'm excited for that
I can't believe you
one.
didn't have that one.
Oof! Oh, I did have one. I just didn't have one that was open. Do you know how valuable that stupid thing is?
I love
Yes,
that
I
that
do.
line exists just as the black mark in the
Decepticons!
I love
Ugh.
It's the
It's great
best.
for us.
The best.
All right. Well, anyway, thank you guys, and we will see you next week.
Bye.